All right, Charles Fakroha, iBrandTV senior analyst, joins us now virtually. Thank you for joining us. Good morning to you, Charles.
Thank you for having me. Good morning.
Well, let's begin with this slash in the price of petrol retail services across 54 stations, and that's coming from Mainland Oil and Gas Company Limited, which is partnering with state oil firm, the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, and they're now saying that they've slashed petrol price to 195 naira per litre. The managing director of the company, Dr. Chris Igwe, stated that the company has remained steadfast to regulatory compliance and pricing in line with its commitment to partnering with the NNPC Limited in taming price distortions in the domestic energy market. Now, the question is, the official rate, which was set by the NNPC Limited before, was 185 naira. So this new price of 195 naira, is this supposed to be a slash? Help us better understand what's going on.
Much. What we will say first of all is the availability of this product or this commodity that is paramount important. Yes, for the past few days, some places and NNPC stations, people have been able to buy for 185. Of course, you see the length of the queue. Now, NNPC is partnering with some other stakeholders and saying they are slashing to 195. Well, we will take it in good faith and believe that availability will be continuous. The product will be available. So people at 195, they are claiming to have slashed it down. Of course, I don't even know at what price it was sold before from the NNPC outlet. But in other outlets, we have seen even as high as 250, 300. So for them saying that they slashed to 195, then other filling stations, maybe the independent marketers, and of course, the marketers will now begin to sell at 195. For me, it's a good development. Why slash or don't slash? And let the product be available to the average person.
So are they saying that we already moved from the 185 naira official price? Because that's where the confusion is now. We know that the price hasn't been uniform. Several states, across the southwest zone, the north central zone, the south, they've been selling at different prices. But is the NNPC now saying that the official rate moved from 185 naira initially?
Yes, that is what we can, deduce from that their statement, that obviously now, if you sell at 195, of course, that will be official. I will not be penalized. Sometimes I'm also threatening to penalize filling stations that are selling above official rate. So probably the 195 will now serve as the official rate. Then my concern still remains that let this product be available. Because by the time of subsidy removal, by the time subsidy is removed, of course, market forces will determine the price of this particular filling station to sell the product to their filling customers.
But would this also mean uniformity in the price? Because we know that most times when the official rate is given, there's usually the different, benchmarks, different prices coming from different regions in the country.
Yes, the government will set a fee through a regulatory agency that this is the benchmark. And of course, when we are going to a regime without forces, market forces will determine. Like I've always mentioned on this platform, if I buy a product from Petrol depot in Apapa and I'm taking it to Ongolo in Borno State, do you expect me to pay to sell the product if I'm taking it to Ibadan? So when subsidy is removed finally, then of course the product will be sold based on market forces.
All right, we'll see how that goes. But let's move on to this other story, talking about how the federal government intends to track public spending. Their struggle, of course, the struggle to generate revenue and manage rising expenditure is ongoing, and the federal government is now planning to launch a new policy for public finance management. And this policy is referred to as the bottom-up cash planning policy, and it will be launched on February, that's Friday, February for effective tracking of government spending. Friday will be that's tomorrow, February 10, actually. And the program is supposed to take off tomorrow. But what do you see in the offing, looking at all of this plan to track government expenditure and also boost revenue?
Yes, again, this is what I am personally advocating, because you cannot be talking about government budget when the individuals are not talking of their own personal budget. So you can see the principle goes the same way. You need to track your expenses. You need to track your cash inflow. You need to track your cash outflow. And for a government, for you to know how much you give, how much you spend at what point in time is very, very crucial. This will encourage fiscal discipline. But at any particular point in time, you know how much cash is available, how much of cash you are going to spend. It will make government officials be prudent in terms of their spending. I would call it government personal financial management. That is, government is now trying to manage its finances properly to ensure that it makes optimal use of its cash that is available, and you begin to see a lot of savings. And this will also increase revenue or resources available for other productive ventures. So government needs to keep track of its spending at the same time, budget execution.
But if you look at this new policy, isn't this another one of those several policies that the federal government has instituted when it comes to managing funds? For instance, we see the acting accountant general of the Federation, Silva Okoliabo, disclosing that the bottom-up cash planning policy would, of course, be used to track the spending of different ministries, departments, and agencies. We know that these, agencies and departments aren't devoid of corruption. Would this tackle the issue of corruption in all of these ministries, departments, and agencies, and ensure that those who are culpable are brought to book?
Yes, I agree with you. That is the essence of this policy. And policy implementation matters a lot. And if this is followed and implemented to the matter, we expect an improvement in the spending habits and patterns of this government agency.
All right, Charles, sorry to butt in here. We have to take a break. We'll have to take a breather now. We'll be back to continue the conversation. Please stay with us. All right, Charles Fakra is still with us, analyzing this major news coming from the business world. Charles, thank you for staying with us. Let's get your final thoughts on this issue of the federal government's plan to track its funds.
To track its funds, yes. I think it's a very good development, and I would just appeal to all the people that are concerned, the minister, the various SDGs, and of course every other government official to look at this policy and begin to implement it, because at the end of the day, it is for the good of the country.
Well, let's delve into other stories. Now, the World Bank has said that about 850 million people globally do not have an official means of identification. And this was revealed in the bank's Identification for Development initiative. According to the report, most of the people without any official means of identification lived in low and lower middle income economies in sub-Saharan Africa and South Asia. Of course, we know that Nigeria is not exclusive, or this list is not exclusive of countries like Nigeria. But looking at the data, they are talking about the fact that many of these people do not have access to information, and that's because they listed children whose birth had not been registered as over half of those without proof of identity. What are your thoughts on this?
Yes, this is a very real concern, and as we speak, it's not even only in rural areas, because I can testify that births are not even registered in rural areas. Then you also have, even in urban centers, even in places like Lagos, you can see that people will tell you they don't have ID cards. And you begin to wonder, what And what is really the issue? Even if they don't have, and what about the bank account? At least you have some form of ID. No BVN number.
The BVN.
What about for your voting? You don't even have a voter card. So all these are real concerns. And if you look at it critically, some of these persons, no one will say they're not even Nigerians. They just would have put us more than they just emigrated to Nigeria. I have a personal experience. Somebody that supplies some fuel from the black market. I told him, let me have your bank account. And he hopefully have said he doesn't have his bank account. And what happened? He only said he's not even in Nigeria, that he's from Niger. And you don't have any documents in Nigeria. How did you get to the country? Then he just followed some people. He just followed somebody entered Nigeria and is in Lagos doing all sort of media jobs. So it's a real concern, and that is also a problem for economic, government policymakers to plan for people like this. And I think it is something the government will need to revisit again to ensure that people have the proper ID card, the proper means of.
But would you say the government? Would you say the government isn't doing enough? We've had the BVN, we've had the NIN, we've had, several means of identification or registration for identification. Would you say that the federal government isn't doing enough, or is there some gap somewhere that isn't covered yet?
They are not what they can do, but more things needs to be done. Rural areas, I'll speak particularly my village. There are my people who don't have any means of identification. Like you have mentioned, whether it is for BVN, whether it's for national ID card, or whether it's for voter card, some of them still do not have, and they don't even see the need for it. So a lot of work still needs to be done in that rural community.
Especially in the area of sensitization, yes?
Yes, I agree with that, because even in this voting, some of them will not even come out to vote. So we need to make them realize that their voting is for them to choose who they want to be there. And they can only do that by having their PVC. And you can only have your PVC when you go and register with the electoral body. We need to see the relationship between that and see the need. And of course, how to also access other financial benefits from the government. We need to have the need of identification.
Let's also look at another worrisome aspect of the statistics, looking at women living in low-income countries, which are said to be 8 percentage points less likely to have an ID than men. What does this imply?
Of course, it shows the culture in this environment where, with due respect to women are seen as second-class citizens. Women are not important. So we have come to realize that with proper girl child education, women have a major role to play when it comes to nation building. Like they say, if you educate the woman, you have educated the whole nation. So women have to be given that priority because they have a major role to play in terms of child upbringing, at the same time mending and shaping the moral of young children that become adults at the end of the day.
What can be done to make things better, especially looking at the fact that most of these people are already excluded when it comes to accessing financial services, when it comes to receiving financial support from the government, applying for jobs, and voting in elections?
Yes, and that's where the National Orientation Agency and other information services of the government and other non-governmental NGOs to take this upon themselves and see that the grassroots, the villages, it's not only local government headquarters, that are villages in some of these remote parts of the country that we need to get into and let them be aware of the importance of having a proper ID. We have councillors representing them in the local government. What are these councillors doing? They need to go back to their citizens. Because where are they elected? Where are they? It's like imagine a councillor, you say a councillor represents a particular ward, and you don't even reside in that ward. So these are some of the problems that need to be addressed. If you are a councillor in a particular ward, in rural area, you must reside in that particular ward so that you be taking government activities to the grassroots.
I think at another important aspect we're not looking at is the national population census. We know that another one is programmed for this year after over 10 years of not, carrying out a census. But we'll see how that pans out. We're really short of time, but let's look at this final story. Nigeria's commodities market player, Apex, has predicted a decline in production of grain commodities in 2023. It said this in its annual commodity outlook report for 2023, and of course the report forecasted that the impact of flooding, the devaluation of the naira, high logistic cost, and the socio-political situation in the country would keep commodity prices at historically high levels. Do you have any concerns from this report?
Yes, it's very, very big concern, because I want to say a nation that cannot feed itself despite the challenges, then of course is not supposed to be really committee of nation. Yes, we have flooding issue, we have problem of high forex and all that. But the fact remains that we need to be proactive so that we can continue to provide this big food items for our people. What is the role of agricultural innovation? Yes, there is flooding, but of course, as I can see now, within my village, people are already preparing for the next flood. Like I said, locally, their young banks, they are raising it a bit higher, so that when the flood will come, it will not affect the yams they are harvesting. Of course, we talk of those of them who are using fertilizer. What is the government doing now? We need to continue to innovate in terms of agriculture to see that, yes, when there are issues like this, the first thing is, what are the things we need to do so we can continue to fill the land despite the environmental challenges and other issues. So, yes, good. Actually, I've mentioned that for us as a commodity exchange, and what we want government to do now, to take this advice and become proactive, talk to the rural farmers, using the agricultural extension agencies, and see that dry season farming is being implemented. We are able to cultivate the land optimally. So when these natural disasters occur, then we are able to store enough grain and whatever food items that will last us for the next planting season. We can do it. It's just a matter of the government prioritizing and putting more focus in agricultural innovation.
Robust contribution as always. Thank you so much, Charles Fakroha, iBrandTV senior analyst. Always good to have you on the show.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
Still to come after the break, the total volume traded decreased by 24.22% to 151.583 million shares, worth 1.8 billion naira, and traded in 2,974 deals. We'll focus on this after the break. Don't go anywhere.